Hello, everybody. Good morning. I hope you guys are doing well. It is Friday, August 30th, 2024. It is 6:45 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm going live from Pennsylvania. I am back again. So, let me take the time to say thank you for your support. Thank you for everything that you are doing. And also, thank you for subscribing. And also, I thank everybody who are loyal to this channel, that keep coming back to watch my videos, watch my live stream, giving their opinion on matters that I discuss on this channel. That really, really means a lot. And happy Friday, everybody. I know everybody waits for these days, especially those of us that live here in the States. Friday starts the weekend right right at the end of your shift. I know that feeling because I'm feeling the exact same way. I cannot wait to get off work and then enjoy the weekend. But unfortunately for me, I had picked up some overtime, which means that I'll be working this weekend. All right, you guys. So that's something that I can't really be too excited about this Friday, but I'm excited for you guys. All right. So I am going to allow a few more minutes to allow people to join the chat, and then we'll get this started. I'm sure this topic is trending. Everybody is talking about it, and it's more so what has happened in Rwanda. Rwanda is really not a country that I take pleasure in talking about. Those of you that know where I'm from, you will probably see where I'm coming from. I ain't got nothing against the Rwandese people, but their government, not so much. You know what I'm saying? But it's really making the news. All right, people are wondering, so what's happening? And that has inspired me to talk about churches in Africa in general. And I'll be focusing more on a Congo side of a religion, so you guys can get an idea of the role that churches play in most African countries. So guys, do me a favor, hit the like button, and please let me know down in the comment section where you're going or where you're tuning in from, and I will really appreciate it. And good morning one more time, and happy Friday to you all. All right, without further ado, let's get straight to today's video. As always, I do respect your time, and I do know that your time is precious. I would never do anything to undermine or minimize your engagement and your willingness to join this chat so we can have a productive conversation. So feel free to criticize any of my opinion down in the comment section down below, and please keep it respectful. I mean, I do not allow any kind of insults on this channel. I just ask that people use their common sense and be mature enough to have a very, a great debate and a more mature conversation without insulting one another. All right. So without further ado, let's go straight to today's live stream. All right, you guys. It's more than 7 of you watching, but there's only 2 likes so far. Do me a favor, hit that like button, so that the YouTube push this video further to a broader audience. All right. Yes, I am from the Democratic Republic of Congo. That's right. Proud to be Congolese, born and raised. I just happened to come to the United States of America, where I am currently living, but I still travel back and forth to Congo. All right. So let's get it. Oh my God, where should I start? All right, where should I start? Oh, of course, God bless Rwanda, but God should never bless the government of Rwanda. I am responsible for saying that, And I stand by it. Those of you that don't know better, that don't know the history, you should go and study the history. Or you know what I'm saying? My heart goes to all of the victim of the genocide of Rwanda, which by the way was perpetrated by the very same president that is in power right now. I know a lot of people are about to comment me, but before you comment me in any way, shape, or form, I would highly encourage you to go open a history book and you'll understand what I'm talking about. Don't let nobody fool you in our government. These people are genocidal maniac. You had no idea what these government have been doing in the eastern region of Congo, the country where I'm from, and these atrocities have been documented and UN human rights organizations. I'm not saying this, and this, by the way, exists there. But because we know the injustice that happened around the world, the Congolese people have not gotten justice for these atrocities that we have been victim of. You know what I'm saying? But let's talk about churches destroying the African youth in Africa. Guys, a lot of people have no clue. Some of you watching that are from the Western world, or you know, you are from the Western societies, you have no idea what Africans churches are doing to African youth. I'll get the conversation started by giving you one scenario that involves a friend of mine that I grew up with. Really smart guy. I went to school with him. The guy gets where he graduated, you know, he graduated from university. He works for public safety, or for public works and safety of the Congo. Well, his father was a professor at university, right? So this guy gets hooked up by his father with one of his friends, where they, you know, through networks, so they were able to find him a job. But before he was able to get a job, he moved out of his parents' house, was, you know, renting an apartment somewhere with one of his friends. So I visited Congo. I stayed with him because the lease had ended and he couldn't afford to stay anywhere. So it was staying with me, which was cool, right? I stayed with the guy for quite a bit. But I'm telling you, every night this guy was praying. When I say it was praying, it was disturbing the peace of me and maybe other neighbors who were able to hear how he was praying. I'm talking about he's stomping his feet, he's screaming, he's like, you almost feel like this guy is about to get into a physical altercation with a spirit that's not even in front of him, yeah? And he was doing it every night. But because it's somebody that I care about, somebody that I knew from back in the day, you know what I'm saying, I felt some type of way. I didn't want to tell him to offend him because I'm Christian myself. Because you know the stereotypes in Africa, you're trying to give somebody some advice that has something to do with religion. They think you're anti-Christ. They think that you have sold your soul and all of that bullshit. But I was just like, I can't kick him out either, but I'm just going to put up with this. Yo, fast forward a couple of years later, this guy finds a job, better job. I'm talking about he travels all over. He finds a better job. He goes almost to every single African country's now. Back then, he wasn't even dating no chick. The only chick that I know he used to date back in the day, they broke up and they never got back together. It kind of affected him for a long time. But then he got over it pretty quickly, and then he got into the church thing and started praying and doing all these things. When he found his job, this motherfucker ain't never set foot at any of the churches that he used to go to. And every time, like all of the trips that I took there, when I hung out with him and I asked him about the church and all this, like, yo, church is a joke, man. A lot of people so the reason why I use that example is for you to get an idea of what churches are all about. A lot of these pastors in most African churches, they will have their followers believe it's through them they will find better opportunities. So many people, they will go to the church looking for jobs because they're looking to get a job. They go to the church, they give these percentage of whatever it is that they make hoping that they will get a better job, find better opportunities. Guys, these things is destroying people. People are under the impression when you go to the church, you'll find a job. That has nothing to do with, listen, social economics of the country does not depend on the church. The church is a religious belief. Your belief, if you believe Jesus is saved, that died on the cross to save the humanity, that's what you go to the church for. You know what I'm saying? It has nothing to do with allowing you to get a better job or anything like that. You go to school, you're smart, you go to job interviews, you impress the panel, they get you a job. Here in the United States of America, you don't need to go to the church to find a job. You can just fill out a job application. Filling out a job application and selling yourself short and your resume will get you a job, not a damn church. When you go to the church thinking that I'm going to find a better job or I'm going to find a husband, especially when it comes down to females. A lot of females are into this bull crap too. They'll go to the church, right? They're praying, kneeling down, screaming, doing all this crazy thing just so that they can find a husband to take care of them. Lady, you probably had more than 3-4 abortions before you went to the church to start asking God to send you a husband. No, you don't go to the church hoping that God will send you a husband. You socialize. You find a husband by going to public places, but socializing with people, because you ain't never going to sit down with your place and somebody just walking if they don't even see your face in the neighborhood. You go to a local bar, go to a local nightclub, go to like there are a lot of public places where people socialize, where they will see you, wear your makeups. But I'm not really a big fan of women wearing makeups because I love females when they just stay natural, all right? Just look good, smell good, go to a public place. You'll pull you a husband. You will attract somebody. They will ask you out on a date, and then eventually, if you impress them enough, you'll become their wife, and they'll become your husband. You know what I'm saying? And there's nothing wrong with going to church either. But being under the impression that going to church is the only way you can ever find a better job or find a husband or somebody or other opportunities, it is a fairy tale. I cannot stress this enough. You have no clue how many pastors in Africa have abused their position as pastors, because these people sometimes they believe that every word that's coming out of a lot of these pastors' mouth is the truth. Can you guys imagine a pastor telling young females in the church who are looking to find marriages, who are looking to find intimate partners for long-term relationships? It tells them, in order for you to get that, you will have to sleep with me. You sleep with me, then you find you a husband. It's not even a joke. There are stories out there. There are even videos on TikTok or YouTube everywhere where you see abominations taking place, with pastors sleeping with the wives of the same people that are worshiping them in churches. That's why, me personally, not only that I believe the very first church, it is into your heart. That is the number one church you should be loyal to, you should be believing in. Because at the end of the day, when we all go to these churches, listen, there are people that commit robberies, people that are child molesters, people that commit all sort of heinous crimes. They all go to the church. These people go to the church. You're sitting down next to serial killers in the church, but because you don't sit inside their hearts, you have no idea that the person that's sitting next to you what they're capable of. If the church was an institution that could change people's life like that at a drop of a dime, I promise you crimes would not be committed. It's people's state of mind. Listen, as a Christian, when I go to the church and I accept Jesus as my Savior, I have purposes that takes me to church. I have things that I believe in. So when I go to the church, I pray, I say my prayer, and I believe in things that I believe in. That's personal. But saying that I'm going to the church to just sit there and hope that a pastor will tell me what my future looks like, with all due respect, please, you're bullshitting. You know what know what I'm saying? That's bullshit. I am going to be who I want to be based on the efforts that I put in and the willingness to do the things that makes me feel good as a human being. I'm not going to look for happiness at the church. I'm already a happy person. Going to the church because I come from a Christian family. They have shown me the word of God. They have put me to church, and I still go to the church till today. But check this out. Most African pastors, they only care more about nothing but themselves. A lot of these pastors, they will like have a seminary, right? They'll have a seminar where they have a spatial prayers. They have a spatial, event or church service where it only they only accept certain amount as donations, or whatever the case may be. It starts from like $7, $70, $700, $7,000, $70,000 and up. These things happen in my watch when I was in Congo. A lot of these famous pastors that are on social media, these are the things that they do. And there was a scandal. Tell me how many Congolese, right, or how many Africans can afford $7 for offering in the church? They don't have that money. This woman goes in front, right, where the pastor was preaching, and it was time to give some offering and stuff. So they're standing right in front of them. They wanted to bless them. This pastor refused to bless the lady who have come forward with a certain amount which he deemed wasn't enough. So he sent him off the stage right in the middle of this church service. What a humiliation. So if this is a church, you're supposed to accept everybody. You understand what I'm saying? Poor, rich, and people from all background. But the fact that you insulted this lady who probably taking 10% out of her earning to give back to God because that's what she believed in, and then you turn her down, you humiliated her in front of the whole church, telling her that the money she was giving you wasn't enough, that you were not going to pray for her. Listen, sister, I don't know who you is, but I'm familiar with the story. Let me tell you something. You didn't even need to give that man your hard-earned money. All you needed to do with the money is to go home, say a prayer to yourself, and God will answer your prayers. Listen, I've done it. I have fasted on my own on time, and it worked. I have done things that I asked forgiveness for, and it worked. I didn't need to go kneel in front of a pastor who's just a human being, just like I am, and asking them to, I think my life isn't really, what it was supposed to be. I need you to pray for me. Cut the shit out, man. Cut it out. And I have these conversations a lot with a lot of friends that I went to high school with that are females, right? And we will have like random conversations like, all right, so some females that will get married and they have difficulties conceiving. They have difficulties getting pregnant, right? Because in African society, when a woman gets married, the very first thing that both families are expecting is a child. They don't even sit down, talk economics to determine what their budget is, whether if they can even afford a child. Africans don't have kids because they have a certain budget, but Africans have kids because they hope that those children will help them in the future. No, you having children because you think you are financially capable to take care of them. The concept of even creating or forming a family in Africa is already messed up for the most part. And these churches have not done a better job to address these issues. All right. So I lost train of thought about something that I was about to say. So that alone, it is enough for you to learn that churches is just like a school. When you go to school, you graduate high school, you don't read books, right? you're not going to be as knowledgeable. To stay sharp, you need to study more, you need to read books just for your own personal knowledge, because if you don't do that, then you're just going to be an empty graduate, right? It requires certain amount of effort, and that would not come from your professor. Your professor will teach you and give you the materials that you need, but in order for you to gain more knowledge, you need to do your own research, you need to study harder, and your professor's not going to be around to show you what needs to be done. You know what I'm saying? It goes the same with these pastors in most African church. They will have people believe that if you give them money, if you deposit certain amount, they are going to, God is going to bless you to some extent, which I also agree with. But at the same time, okay, back to the subject that I was about to talk about. All right, I was mentioning that I was having conversation with, my female friends from high school or whatnot. It would be like, all right, they get married, but they're having problems having a child. As most African families, the first thing when you get married, they expect you to have a child right away, right? Because, if it's been a year and you haven't had a child yet, everybody's now pointing fingers at you. All right, what's going on? What's wrong with her? You know what I'm saying? And like people talking behind closed doors, it might influence your marriage. It might affect it. Your husband may leave you because they think that you can't have a child. But sometimes these things takes time. You know what I'm saying? You have to do it repeatedly over and over in order for you to be able to conceive in the first place. So, and I'm like, all right, some of these females, they go to church because they believe going to church praying, that's what got them their husband. And then now they keep praying to get a child. And once they finally gets pregnant and the complication starts, and eventually they have a miscarriage. But now some hooker through the streets gets pregnant, but some crackheads, they go to the hospital, they have a child, and like while they were like throughout the pregnancy, they didn't even care. They were drinking alcohol, they were smoking, they were doing things that most doctors ask you not to do when you are pregnant, during your pregnancy, right? And then all of a sudden they have a much healthier child. But the person who goes to church every day gets to get miscarriage. How do you explain that? Where was God when all of this was happening? Because supposedly they were supposed to do things, or they're supposed to stop this kind of things from happening. So when I come up with this kind of example, they will get all defensive. They will get all, they want to explain, situations are not the same, situations are different, odds are different, you have to be careful things you do. No, it's just a simple example. I mean, if some of you watching, if you have something to tell me different from my initial thoughts, please feel free to let me know in the comment section. Maybe I'm tripping, but I'm sure that I'm not. Some of us need to wake up. African churches or African concept of the church have destroyed the youth, the African youth, big time. And it is time for people to wake up. The longer you continue to believe in these pastors, especially most fake pastors are saying, I'm not saying all pastors are fake, but I'm just saying there are a lot of them out there who are up to no good. How are you going to claim to be a pastor and then you slip around with a bunch of women in the same church? You're a pastor, but you don't want to find somebody. You're a pastor, you don't want to get married. But you have married couples that you are supposedly helping out with advices, helping them to stay together longer. You don't even have marriage experience. These, especially in the Democratic Republic of Congo, things like this are happening a lot. How can you explain this? A young pastor who does not want to get married, but he's giving advice and is telling younger females that go to her or his church what they should do to find better partners. And yet he cannot do it for himself to find a better partner. Look at the irony. And these people, they're so blind that they just keep going back to these churches. And that's what leads me to believe that there is something wrong with them. And for like a country like Rwanda, when they banish, or like they ban all these 5,000, 6,000 churches or whatever the case may be, to some extent they were right. So a church must meet certain standards. You can't just not have a church in the middle of nowhere. There are no there are no bathrooms. There's nothing. And then people go to church. People gotta go use the restrooms. People gotta respond to certain things. And plus, the pastors need to have a theology degree. This is causing a lot of issues within most African countries. In the Democratic Republic of Congo, for instance, how do you explain 7, 10 churches on the same street? How do you justify that? How do you justify that? We don't need all these churches. And most of them, they make the most noise. They will bother your peace. They will disturb your peace and annoying the heck out of you. Trust me, these things are becoming more and more unacceptable. And I was, by the way, happy when I heard the new Minister of Justice saying that these churches must be regulated and it should not be more than, there was a certain amount of churches that he said exist on the same streets. And I do agree with him. Most pastors now, they like how pastors even become political. Some pastors, they have, when you're a pastor, there is a saying that goes, a church should be in the middle of the village, right? Which means the church should be neutral. If you are a pastor, you should stand by one side. It goes the same as like in law enforcement. You have to be neutral, regardless of what your beliefs are. But when you're doing a job, that should never apply. You're there to protect and serve, right? So you should not be discriminating people, even if you don't agree with what they believe in. If you have something against gay people or whatever, and you're a cop, you come across one, they will question your report writings based upon the actions you took when you're responding to a certain call. The churches ain't no different. You know what I'm saying? And people can say whatever they want to say, but at the end of the day, these things matter to us, because when we chose to become Christian, to accept religion, it comes with rules that must be followed. As pastors, you are prohibiting people from taking certain actions, and yet you're not even an example of the same things that you don't want people doing. So how do you make that make sense? That's the part where I don't agree with a lot of these churches. Going to the church every Sunday, it's not going to get you to go to heaven. It is what's inside of your hearts. You understand what I'm saying? So people now have lost their ways because they think these pastors, somehow they've turned themselves into prophets and God. Listen, you can believe in whatever you believe in, but the practice of religion and churches, the way that it is conducted in most African countries, it is destroying the youth. A lot of African youth. All right, another example, some guy that I know through another friend, who, by the way, is a hard-working man, got a job, was able to buy his very first car, and guess what he did with the car? He donated the car to the pastor, who's, by the way, wealthier than everybody in the church. But that there were people who have been going to that same church years, even before the pastor was born. They still living in poverty. The pastor comes, now is taking what they're working so hard for on the top of vehicles that he already has. He accepts that donation from a guy who's struggling. But the guy, the dummy he was, his mother has a lot of health issues, who needs transportation to get to the hospital every now and then. He didn't even think to donate, to give that card to his mother, the same person who gave birth to him. As much as I would want to agree with him, like the gesture was amazing, but your very first car you should have been driving a car rather than donating that car to a pastor. That pastor own vehicles that are more luxurious and more expensive than what you gave it to him. You didn't need to give him a car to prove anything to him. And another thing, people will come to church with many problems. They suffering, they're going through difficult times, and they would, ask missionaries, other people to go visit them and help them out and things like that. But the pastor who has the most money can't even cut a check to help them out. How do we explain that? But you're supposed to be a pastor. You're supposed to be the advocate who you should be the number one example to encourage people to do these things. You know what? They never going to do it because they believe they deserve every penny that's coming out of your pockets. Now you have to pay the rent at the church. You have a certain amount. You have a bill that you have to pay so that the church exists. So no, since I've been here in America, most churches are funded by like multimillionaires or billionaires of that community, and they make a bunch of donations because they're trying to get some sort of tax breaks when they file the taxes at the end of the year. I'm saying, and then like people go to these churches. When I go here, people give $1, $2, maybe the most $5 during offering, and yet these people somehow they're managing to go to like other third world countries and helping poor, building churches and doing things. You know why? Because their administration is solid. The truth. They practice the same thing that they tell their constituents and the church followers, right? But the moment these pastors in African countries, they get them offering, trust me, before the end of the week, the money's gone. Whereas the money could have been used to build more infrastructures in the church, maybe to create like a youth community, like have some different, departments within the church to expand the ministry. They don't do that. They're there to make money. Some pastors in Congo, that's all they do. That's how they make money. They don't even have a real job. But a lot of pastors here, outside of being a pastor, some of them are lawyers, some of them are doctors, some of them have degrees in different fields. In Africa, once somebody makes it to a pastor, that's all. It's like, all right, I'm about to start getting all this offering. I'm about to start getting all of this, or X, Y, and Z. And they look at it as an economic opportunity to better themselves. And it shouldn't be. And a lot of youth are falling for this because they are naive. They don't want to see through the reality of this world. And that is disturbing, and that's bothered me a lot. I can't really tell people what to do with their lives, but especially in Africa, when you're a church goer, just read between the lines. You're an adult. Use your common sense to make things make sense. And if you can come to that, then I don't know what to tell you. You understand what I'm saying? And most countries should reform the way churches are run in most African countries. The youth is being destroyed. A part of the destruction of the youth, a lot of African churches have a lot to do with that. People will go to church day and night, praying their ass off, like dropping every dime that they could get their hands on in these churches, believing that their future depend on it. Your future does not depend on it. If you believe getting an education to find a better job, live a better life, go ahead and get your master's degree, doctorate degree, whatever degree you want to get. Good for you. If you think through hard work and starting a small business and working your way up will help that, good for you. Go for it. Use your instincts. Fill out the job application. Ain't no pastor that's going to get you there. That ain't happening. A lot of the things in Africa is simple. It's simple math. There aren't many jobs opportunities. There aren't a lot of manufacturer jobs where it'll hire high school kids or fast food restaurants in our neighborhoods that hire like younger children who are still in school. We ain't got many of those. That's why people are unemployed. It's simple math. It ain't nothing to do with praying. So now you're praying, you want some kid. You say like, oh, they fired that kid, and in fact that they hired this one, God did that. No. Please stop doing that. Stop. Here in America, to get a job, you need to fill out a job application. And then they will send you an email. The application has been received and it's under review. After reviewing it, they will send you another email. Oh, can you show up at such a date for a job interview? You show up there, you prove them that you are capable to do the job. And then you have to do a background check. Conduct a background check on you. Make sure you ain't no criminal. When everything clears, there you get your job. They know you're competent because you proved them at job interview. You show them that you're capable to do the job. That's why you got a job. In most African countries, how many of us, or especially how many females in Africa, needs to be sleeping with their bosses to keep their job? And no meritocracy in most African countries when it comes down to employment. You know how many friends that I have who tell me crazy stories at workplaces? Like some of them, they can't keep a job for more than 2 or 3 months. Because the moment you walk through them doors and some, guy sees you, a good-looking young female, they just want to get through your pants. And if you don't give them that, guess what they're going to do? They're going to keep harassing you and make the work environment so hostile until you can't take it anymore and you resign and you quit. Until somebody who's willing to, right? You can check with a lot of people they will tell you this the truth. These are factual. I have so many people. I can spend a whole day telling you a whole bunch of different stories that they told me about all this. Meritocracy doesn't really play a major role in a lot of African countries like that. And a lot of these pastors, they will have you believe that that's what you need to do. But at the same time, they preaching and telling you how to live your life, but they living their life the opposite way. Some of these church goers behave probably themselves better than some of these pastors. How do you make this make? How do you explain a pastor slipping around with a bunch of married women, having them live? I don't know if they use some sort of voodoo or I don't know to get inside of them females' head to get them believed to sleep with them so that their family will prosper. I don't get it, yeah. And then them females, they doing these things. We have online videos showing pastors in churches grabbing females' tits, squeezing them females' boobs in front of the whole church, showing them demonstrating in front of the church certain sexual positions, doggy style and all that, in front of the church. This is abomination, and I can't wrap my head around this. You people going in the same church, after seeing this, they will go back to the same church the next Sunday. You should have gotten up in the middle of the service when the pastor was demonstrating that, walk out of the church and never come back. Or probably give his ass a ass whooping. Mollywop his ass so he doesn't do that ever again. Let's just say I was old enough and I had a daughter that age, goes to that church, and have the pastor banter over to demonstrate sexual position in front of the whole church. Listen, I'm throwing them hands. I promise you, I don't give a crap whether you're a pastor. If Jesus is going to kill me for hitting on the pastor, oh, you're about to taste how my punch feels like. I ain't no boxer. I ain't grow up, practicing boxing, but I'm trained enough to know how to punch because I practiced sports, judo and all growing up. So you better believe that I know when I punch somebody, they're going to feel it. So I'm going to throw as many punches as I can throw at them and make sure that you don't ever do that to any of nobody's daughter at the church ever. And when I saw these videos, it was so disturbing. And I was just like, wow, I can't believe these pastors, this maniac just did that, yo. This is unacceptable and ridiculous. I don't know how many times or what it takes for these pastors to do so that this female, oh, like everybody that go to them churches to understand what they dealing with. It'll come a time where a pastor would strip naked in front of the church and start having sex with somebody while the church is happening. It's about to turn to a whole orgy scenario in the middle of the service, yeah? And these things happen a lot. You don't believe me? Go to TikTok. TikTok is famous for all this kind of nonsense. Go on TikTok. You'll see all this nonsense. It's out there on the internet. Maybe I don't know how this is done, but I need to do my research on how to like play a clip without, YouTube flagging you or whatever. Then I'll probably show the clip that I'm talking about. You know what? I'm about to do my research on that. So I'll find these videos and I'll share those with you guys. So that's something that I need to work on. And I probably will come back here so we could talk about it. All right. So I made it to the garage. I'm out here. Oh man, I have my windows up. I didn't really realize it's cloudy out today. Seems like looks like it's going to rain. Oh well. So it's almost time for me to, go in. I probably got about like half an hour, but I'm not trying to sit here for the next half hour just having this conversation, because I know as much as interesting as this conversation is, and I would love to continue this conversation, but I just need some time to like, relax before I go in, before my shift starts. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I really do appreciate you showing up. It really, really means a lot. Let me know in the comment section down below what your opinions are. If you're watching this live, let me know what you think. If you're watching this on the replay, please feel free to let me know, your opinion in the comment section down below. It says let's all have a mature and constructive conversation, a debate in the comment section down below without insulting one another. I do appreciate you for showing up. Happy Friday one more time. Until the next one, I'll see you guys later. Peace out. Have a fantastic rest of your week. Talk to you soon.